On that wood, boy. Let us know when we're ready.
We're ready now.
Welcome back to another edition of the Hustlepreneur Network. We got something juicy for you, juicy for the ears and juicy for the eyes. We're going to let her introduce herself.
I am Kamisha Young. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm here to chat with Chris.
There it is. There it is. We're going to break it out. I promise you throughout this whole time that we're talking, we're going to get her a little bit less frozen, get her out her shell.
Let me get this shot right.
But this is a fun thing, and what it's about is really about glorifying and pointing out hustlers, which is a hybrid of entrepreneurs that hustle, or you can flip it around, the hustler that is also entrepreneur mind spirit, because you really need both. In my mind, to be a top level success, you can be successful doing either or not doing either one at all. Right. But to that master level of success, it kind of needs to bring the level of hustling plus the level of business of entrepreneur to merge. Right. All right, cool. So with that being said, we go about this around the same way every time. Okay. Right? Little breakers to get to know who you are. Okay. And who you are. When we say that, we want to know who you are right now, right? Mm-hmm. And who you saw yourself as prior to your growth. Okay. Like how would you describe yourself now, and how would you describe yourself prior to your growth?
I've always looked for or wanted freedom.
Right.
I'm a freedom seeker.
Strong word. We use that word every time, people.
Really?
Freedom.
Okay.
If you'll see something that's always reoccurring in our conversation, the most people want is freedom. Go ahead.
So I've always, I guess, sought that out. So I don't say there's a big difference in before and now, because I'm still seeking freedom.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like you always were seeking freedom? Do you think as a kid, were you a worker as a kid? Did you always have an entrepreneur spirit? Let's give some background. What was your first job?
My first job was...
And how old were you at your first job?
I was 14.
Okay.
I worked at Winn-Dixie.
Okay. For those that don't know, it's an extinct grocery store. It's one of those you had to be there kind of things.
Yeah, you did.
It's extinct. It no longer existed, but it had some of the greatest food of all time. We salute you in Dixie. Okay.
Right.
All right.
I was making $4.25 an hour.
Woo, child.
I know, right? I think it was $4.15 actually. And that was my first job. I worked. I had as many hours as I could. Like I said, I was 14.
What was the spirit of working at that point? What was it? Was you working to a goal at 14? Were you working just for new sneakers? Were you working for what was the mind state of what you were working for at that time?
I always had responsibilities. Like I always tried to help my mom. Mm-hmm. Around the house with bills and whatnot. But and I wanted a car. I had a car.
At 14.
At that point, my
big
mom.
Dog.
So hold on,
big
my
dog.
mom.
This is the second woman we met that already had their own apartment in high school, and some big dogs around here now.
I did drive, so
okay.
I needed gas money.
Understood.
Yeah.
Now let's know. Here's what I want to tie in, because that part of the responsibility builds the actual entrepreneur on top of the hustler. Right. The hustler had to get a car because they had to figure that out. Now the entrepreneur knows that I have to gas my car. Right. I got insurance. The small stuff that everybody would not, throw into you, you had to figure out how to do. Right. And I say that to say, one of the recurring things that a lot of people we talk to, it was kind of built in early. Now, what's fascinating for me is I always had a mind state that everybody was it was a one-track mind of how you became this hustlepreneur. And it isn't. It really isn't. People walk through so many different walks. Yes. It's for the people, again, because what we're doing is, let's say somebody stumbles on this 20 years from now, 15 years ago from now, or whatever, we want them to know what people were thinking way back, how they got to these plateaus. What was the formula? What was the secret sauce? And we're gonna dig into get some of your, juicy secrets here that got you to the levels that you got you to. So, who right now, or what's your actual label? Is entrepreneur your actual label? What is it? Your title? What is it that you actually control, own, invest in, entrepreneurize? What is it that you do?
Mainly real estate.
Okay.
I own 4 different businesses.
Okay. Can we get those businesses?
Y3 Work Bar, where you are now.
Okay. Which is give us a little bit.
It's a co-working space.
Dope. We were looking for that too.
Yeah, we facilitate meetings for smaller entrepreneurs as well as office space. Young and Company, it's a real estate brokerage. We have 8 realtors, I believe.
Huh?
Young Co Incorporated is a construction company. We're just starting to build homes. And Leaders of Tomorrow is a mental health company that I've ran for about 11 years now.
Very dope, very dope. I want to stop real quick because that right there, I mean, you can't get no stronger of a hustler and entrepreneur that merges. And again, the issue that we're never gonna say the issue, but what we want to shed light on to people is it doesn't stop once you conquered one thing. Usually, the hustlepreneur is usually never satisfied, not financially wise, but just goals wise, growth wise, hunger wise. You can't sleep because your vision is so big, your dreams are so big. And, you know, saying this for people who are, for the lack of a better word, you know, not equipped of seeing women at high places, this is what we also want to expose, that it doesn't come in one form when you think of a hustler, of an entrepreneur, and anything like that. So the hustle part of it, well, before I go there, right before you got to your right before you got to your business of saying, all right, now I'm going to be doing stuff for my own, what was your last thing that you were doing?
I was a teacher.
Wow. So what were you teaching?
I taught math. I taught geometry and algebra to middle and high school students.
Numbers game good, or was this just a job?
No, my major in college was math, so
Okay.
I enjoyed math. I like things that are finite. You know, that's just the path that I chose.
And how long did you teach?
6 years.
Taught 6 years. What was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak? Was it the kids? Because you made it a long. You know, I know people with 6-year-olds and they got to take care of them, and it's like, dog, I can't wait to send these kids off.
No,
You volunteered to be with them.
I mean, I love kids, and I tell anybody being a teacher is almost like being an entrepreneur as well. I mean, you're
How so?
You're handed a book. You're given 30 kids or 90 kids, you know, and you're told to make it work.
Wow.
So it's pretty much the same.
You came up with your own structure as far as format of teaching?
I mean, you like I said, you're given a book and you're given goals, and the rest is up to you, pretty much as a teacher.
What was that? Did you straight out of college? Did you start teaching? So 21, 22, we're in that range right there.
2000. I was.
We ain't gonna tell ages if we don't want to. That's why I said when we started. When we started, it was about 22, right? 22, you think?
I was 21.
21. What was that first day? Oh, well, first of all, what was the process of saying, all right, I'm leaving college? We all had little odd jobs in college or little hustles in college, whatever it is to make sense to keep us going. Once you graduated that, and what was the clicker that said, okay, I'm going to go straight to teaching middle school? Or was there something in between that before you got there?
My aunt, she was a high school principal, and you know, I learned a lot from her as far as even how to be a woman and an entrepreneur. So with her background, you know, you normally look up to someone, and
We get into that. We get into that.
Yeah.
We get into that.
So I did follow in her steps, and I went into education, but there was just something more pulling at me, you know, which not allowed me to stay.
So, what was the first day of teaching? Let's walk us through that.
Ooh. I don't even think I want to recall that.
Was it a gruesome day? Was it?
It wasn't, because I'm very stern, you know, and
You was the mean teacher.
I wasn't the mean. All the kids
no!
loved-
Anybody say stern? I've never heard a teacher come home and say, "I've got the
I was
sternest."
a respected teacher.
Okay, we can respect that.
My classroom was normally the ISS, or the principal would sit there.
Oh, you was the bad teacher then for sure. You was the one taking no mess. Huh?
I take no mess.
No mess. I got you. I understand that.
So that first day, I mean, I don't know. I don't even. I just remember going into structure, you know, just making sure these kids were.
Did you set a goal? Were you even doing goals at that point in your life?
We did goals. I mean, you did.
Straight out of college, you were already writing goals?
You have to do that as teachers. You have to do lesson plans. So,
Okay.
you know, you have to turn those into your principal and all that good stuff. So.
And so, year 6 comes. Was there a wear down every year, or was it year 6 like, I got a whole new game plan?
Well, actually, I'll tell you what. It was, I bought a house.
In year 6 or prior to year 6?
Year 4.
Just off strictly working as a teacher.
I was 23.
Very important,
24,
people.
yes.
Very important.
And I saw her commission check, honestly.
The realtor.
The realtor's commission check.
What made you want to buy a house before we go to that part? I say that because another thing we want to do is educate people. At 24, a lot of our people aren't thinking about buying at that point. You know, what was the mindset of saying, I've graduated college, I'm now teaching a sound, stable place, I want to also own a house? Was that something you seen? Was it something you just came up with? What was the thought process?
It was the numbers. I mean, it just, I was looking at renting an apartment, and the numbers just didn't add up at that point.
Gotcha.
So I just purchased a home.
Okay.
But yeah, it was definitely seeing
Her check?
her freedom and the amount of money she made.
Both of them. And you know what's so funny is she's probably not a gazillionaire, but her freedom with that money is what makes her happy. You see what I'm saying? The happiness is those three.
Right.
You can interject any one of those words in any part of the circle, and they're going to come to a good formula. You know what I'm saying? So happiness plus money equals freedom. Freedom plus money equals happy. I mean, you can put those words any way, and they're going to always come out the same way. Now, so year 4, you buy a house, you see a check. Now it's wearing on your brain that I'm coming back to work and I love kids. I mean, I really do.
And I do, and I still did, and I wanted to figure out a way to transition. So, I still ended up working with kids, with Leaders of Tomorrow.
How did you transition from, did you quit cold turkey, just jump in? Did you take classes? Because you got to really.
I quit cold turkey.
And don't you have to go to realtor school, don't you?
Yes, I went to real estate school, and the girl that actually sold me my house, she let me work for her. My first couple of months after I quit.
Nice, nice. Your network is your net worth. I say this almost every episode based on people we run into. A lot of times they built their way up strictly off of the network of people that they did not burn a bridge on, that they did fairly. You don't have to be nice all the time, but they've done them fairly, and people will remember that, hey, they didn't try to take advantage of me. I didn't try to take advantage of them. Let's move forward. So we're hearing, and I'm speaking to the people as well, trying to speak to you. We're hearing that, early on in her life, she seen value as far as, oh, I can't keep giving somebody else my rent money when I can be doing this for myself. And in a few years, I'll own, or I'll have some money to borrow of my own. Mentality. We talk about mentality on a regular basis, which one thing to get to being a hustlepreneur, you don't have to be born with it, but at some point you have to start using that mentality of different ways of thinking to outthink or to grow out the box. Because, again, this is not a downplay to anybody that wants to think in the box. Well, just the fact that it is, you're going to be what it is. You're either going to be in the box or you're going to be outside the box. As far as thinking goes. Because it's not a negative thing to be in the box. It's just,
not at all.
There's a group of people that's also outside the box, and those are the people that we're reaching out to, that we're trying to touch. Because there's a lot of people who, there's a thought and they just don't know, or they don't believe, or they don't see people like you and me. They don't believe it can happen. Everybody they see is super polished all the time, or super this all the time, and they don't believe that people took steps to get to the top of the mountain. One of the things me and Crank say on a regular basis is, you have people that look at, you call each other goats. So goats on the top of a mountain. There's never just one goat on top of the mountain. It's the whole thing of goats up there, right? When you see people going up there on the top of that mountain, they're saying, oh, I can get there, it's easy. Not knowing how that goat got up there. He could have took the long route. He could have took a short route. He could have just jumped. Who knows? But it's interesting to see what each goat is doing to get to that top of the mountain, and never to make sure that people don't kind of like downplay how it was to get to that top. Even what you just said, you're not satisfied. With that being said, you're still climbing higher mountains. You know what I mean? Now, I want to ask, who was an inspiration, or was there any inspiration entrepreneur-wise? I know you told me inspiration as far as hard working. So your aunt did that. What was there anybody that inspired you hustler-wise, entrepreneur-wise?
A guy by the name of Robert Curry, my uncle actually.
Okay.
He owns his own transmission shop. And again, I just kept seeing freedom, and I kept seeing individuals that somehow had their lifestyle, I'm not gonna say down packed, but the way they wanted it, it came with a lot of freedom.
Okay.
So Robert Curry definitely showed me the ropes as far as starting my own business.
Gotcha. So what? Shout out to Uncle Robert.
Right, Uncle Robert,
There we go. What? Because you know the background that we've heard so far is pretty much traditional so far. School, college, we worked for a little bit, then we broke out. Did you always, or when did you feel you had a hustler spirit, or do you think that since long as you can remember, or did it come later? The reason that's so important because, again, I had a premeditated thought that everybody was born with it, and that's so far from true.
I feel like I've always had it because I came from a working family. Nothing was handed to you. So, from you wanting a new pair of shoes, you had to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you figure out, okay, now I can ask instead of you telling me I have to work for it. Then I'll say, well, now I want, a new car. Can I work for this? Like it reverses at some point. But I definitely think I've always had it. It's just you get stuck in the cycle of what society says, school, college,
Traditional.
a traditional route, and no one's teaching the other route,
When did it kick into third gear, so to speak? Because there's a point in one's life when one knew he wasn't even though we thought we were a hustler, but then there's a point when we like, oh, dog, it ain't nobody gonna stop me at what I'm great at what I do at this point. It's the mentality. Whether it is the truth or not, it's the mentality of when did that third gear kick in and saying, I'm a damn hustler right now. You feel me? I know, and I don't say it like
no, I know what you mean.
The thing, and I want to clear for the audience because so often you hear the word hustling and you attribute it to something negative, and that's not true. You know what I'm saying? Hustler is simply somebody that is trying to gather multiple things and making sure that they can, be successful at multiple things. So when did that hit you like a ton of bricks?
Oh, it was so being a realtor and working for yourself as an entrepreneur is different than having individuals work for you.
Correct.
So when I started Leaders of Tomorrow, my mental health company, and I had 100 kids and 20 staff, and had to figure out how to run that automatically is when I felt that, okay, yeah, I'm definitely a
And once you
hustler
got
at
it
this
up
point.
under your belt, you was like,
Yeah.
the swag's on Jay-Z right now. You feeling real Jay-Z-ish at that point?
Right, a little bit, just a little bit.
I got you.
Yeah, because it shows you that, especially when you can step away and it still runs. Yeah, that's when I definitely
Which
felt.
that led me right into my next one, which was, at what point did you realize you had to blend the two entities? When you had to say, okay, all right, cool. We just found out when you thought that you was a hustlepreneur, and thus far, but prior to that, we knew that you were working traditional work. When did you say, all right, I got to figure out how to hustle and run businesses in order to get this freedom that I want to do and to live the lifestyle I want to live? Because, okay, you may not be chasing a gazillion, but you may be chasing the lifestyle you love.
Right.
That might, it may be
It's
more.
definitely not money.
So it's the lifestyle that you love. Like you said, the freedom, maybe, or buying what you want to buy at the time, or going somewhere you want to go at the time, or eating what you want at the time. When did the dots connect to say, you know what, I want to not only just be this entrepreneur, but I also got to be this hustler. This is how or do you think you walked in with, they just came hand in hand for me?
I honestly think the hustle comes from, I don't think you can teach the hustle, excuse me, I think hustle is given to you at an early age, if that makes sense.
And so break that down to our people, because I don't see what you mean.
Parents who do everything for their children, I don't feel like they'll ever have that hustle spirit. They can be entrepreneurs, but they're not hustlers.
Not born hustlers, what you're saying.
Not born hustlers.
Okay.
I mean, when you know how to, when you're given a lot of responsibility as a child or as a teenager, that's just something you carry with you. And I feel like it transitions you into the hustle spirit.
Got you. When did yours hit you like a ton of brick when you said, all right, I know the inner me knows I've got a little bit of hustle spirit in me. I've been working traditionally, but now I'm moving towards businesses because like we just said, working for yourself, self-employed, is totally different from business owner.
Yeah.
Those two, self-employed means I only care about myself. You don't necessarily, you can have a hustle spirit, but you know that I can only hustle for me. When did that or is there? Do you remember a year when it hit? Do you remember what business did it hit? When it hit
was
you
my
like a ton of
Leaders
bricks?
of Tomorrow business.
Was that the first business,
That was
or-
the first business. It's well, I take that back. It would be the second business because in the first business was working as a sole proprietor,
Okay.
as a realtor. But when you have that
But
staff,
technically, were you still working for somebody at that point?
so the way it's structured, you work for a brokerage, but you have your own company under that brokerage.
Independent
So,
contractor?
Yeah, independent contractor.
Gotcha.
Exactly. But yeah, when I felt like when I had employees is when.
That's when it merged for you. What was that? Were you gun ho for that, or like what was the?
No.
So let's go back a step then.
No.
When you left the dealership, when you got, excuse me, not the dealer, when you left the school and you went to the real estate school and you graduated the real estate, what were the goals of after leaving school? What were, because obviously we had to have separate goals at this point. The goal that I had as a teacher for 5 years shouldn't relate to the goals that I had, or do they? What were the goals when you left the school? Or like a short-term goal, but not a long-term.
The short-term goal was to make still as much money teaching as I was teaching. So
You wanted to make as much money teaching in real estate?
So I wanted to have more time, but still make as much money as
Let's clear this up, because where were you teaching? A private school?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
But here you don't have. In North Carolina, you only make $35,000-$40,000.
Right. So that's what I was saying.
So that was.
You was willing to match that at least.
Yes,
If you were gonna, got you.
definitely.
I see what you're saying. Now.
And doing it part time, I was matching it halfway. So I was like, okay, I know I can do this full time.
Right.
I'm doing this part time. So, yeah, that was my first year goal, was to at least make
Just
the same
monetary, the same amount of money.
Right.
Now, how far do you set goals? Do you set goals yearly, 6 months, 3 years, quarterly? Do you do that at all? This is a question that we just.
Definitely set goals.
Okay.
I'm not a really.
Do you write
I'm not a-
goals down?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Thanks to Star.
Okay. All right. Shout out, Star. All right.
I definitely set goals. I haven't gotten to that 10-year goal type setting yet. I'm not there. I'll say I'm 2-3 years ahead.
Okay.
And eventually, this next project, I think we'll be able to do some 10-year planning.
I got you. So, your first house you sold.
Uh-huh.
Let's walk through that excitement. What did we
It
feel
was
there?
actually my own house.
You sold to yourself. Easiest way to do so. Easy.
It was
Oh wait, I thought you already had a house
It
at
was
this
a
point.
listing. It was the house that I purchased.
You also did you flip it or what did you do?
I made good money off of
Say
it.
no more. Say no more. We ain't gonna get too deep. I got you. So that was a real good day. That was a great day. That was a great day, right? Yeah. You get a little too personal, champ. Like now, we talking about hustlepreneurs. You feel me? So no, right. Let's cheers to that one, because that was. And I want people to know, again, this is so dope because, showing the growth of success, showing the growth of freedom, the growth of happiness in this first 25, 30 minutes, what we talked about, all I've seen or heard anyway, if you've been listening the same way I have, was growth, happiness, leading to freedom. And still not necessarily, we're free at this point, but not to the point where we want to be free for the next few generations of freedom.
Right.
And that's again, that's why I said the vision makes it hard to sleep when you're actually a hustlepreneur, because you're not only just thinking about tomorrow, and because you've already conquered that in your mind. You already conquered, I can buy this, I can eat that. And once you do that, it almost is like, I ain't even as fun no more, whatever I can get. It's like, oh, okay, I done already bought that, I already did that. Now it's like, okay, now how does this happen for the next generation for 10 years?
Right.
How does this do this? How does I leave a legacy the same way the name Nike is lived on for hundreds of years? That is just somebody's last name.
Right.
So many things that we say, McDonald's and stuff,
Right.
it's just people's last name. They're just, their legacy has lived on for 50 to 100 years.
Right.
So for me as a hustlepreneur, that name is really I want it to live on forever, because there's so many, and again, it may not be there to fit the entire world, let's be clear. But less is more in my mind. It's plenty of us, because when you don't need 100 sheep if you got 10 lions.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? So I will ask this. Okay, so we skipped over the good little our first good commission check and all that kind of stuff. But now I was asking that to say, money changed at that point. So now you have to learn how to juggle money. Now that the entrepreneur part comes in, because if you're just a hustler with that kind of money, me and Craig talk about it all the time. You blow the bag. It's the terminology for it is called blowing the bag. So most of the time, if you don't come from a responsible amount of money, if you have not inherited a responsible amount of money, when you get a irresponsible amount of money, you blow it, and it's only right. It's not even that. It's
Friday after next.
huh?
Friday after next.
You bought the house,
I bought a sweater.
and that's all I can. I will get now. You know, what's so funny to that credit. He at least bought a crib. You see, that was a sound. It was a sound investment, right? And that whole thing. At least he did that because most of us won't even do that.
That's true.
We won't even do that. We'll go get all the vacation that we thought we ever wanted.
Right.
We go get a
Cars.
depreciating car that we thought we wanted. We go get some jewelry that don't nobody care about. Get the same significant other that we were going to get with or without that jewelry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So again, you know, the importance of getting that big bag. And then all the viewers want to know because everybody else we asked, did you blow it? Did you fumble it? Or
No,
did you?
I definitely didn't.
Didn't fumble it. We got the first and 10 right there. No fumbling, straight touchdown.
No, I bought another house.
You bought another house after you got the good bag.
Yeah. Well, I
Excellent.
rented for 1 year, and then I bought another house.
Still making money.
Yeah, then I made good money after that too.
Cool. So right there, for the viewers, mind state right there, because as you watch our episodes, you've seen some people say, yeah, I made it and I fumbled it. And actually some people have said, no, I didn't fumble it.
Right.
Some people are really structured in that way. That is part of the mentality that people don't know they are a hustlepreneur. Because, you know, you can be an entrepreneur and just be walking straight down, but you'll only be in one lane forever and you've probably missed a million opportunities. You can be a hustler and be all over the world, but never know the structure to get the benefits of what a business person does. That person that blends both is in a whole nother space because, like you just said, I have one business. That business is spiraled to 4 businesses because I know the structure and I know how not to blow the bag. Right? So important to knowing structure, discipline, not blowing the bag until it's time to blow a bag. And then when I blow one, it's based on what I can afford. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to really blow something outside of a means that's going to make me
And that's funny
stressed out.
You say that because when I did get the first bag, I've always had a rule. You only blow. You have to have a blow account, but it's only 10% of what you have.
Okay.
So I know people tithe, you know, but they're 10%, and then you have to have a 10% blowing account.
For your own tithe, a personal tithe. Got to personally tithe,
Right. That
you
way
know.
you stay in, you stay in check with your money because, I mean, I promise you it has helped me. I started that in 2007 and it has helped me since.
So in that world you're talking about right there, is that it's like a separate account that you do?
It's a separate account. I mean, even if you got cash,
I mean, do you do that? So for people, because what we want to do is get some jewels to bring to people so they know how to get to these levels.
Right.
Because often people hear us and think, again, to the comparison of the mountain, they look at us on the top of the mountain like, oh, it was easy for them to get on the mountain. The mountain wasn't as high when they was coming up. The mountain wasn't this when they was coming up. Nah, it ain't. It's the same damn mountain. It's the same mountain.
Same
So what kind of jewel would you say, or I'm asking for that jewel, do you take it strictly out of every check you make?
Out of every check.
So now mind you, according to
Every
you, you're
single
making
check.
4 checks. 10% of each one of these checks go towards a.
every check.
That's discipline.
And I actually it was the reverse for me. Is because I would invest all my money back into my business. I would never spend it on myself. So
Nice.
that was my way of actually
Being-
starting to do things for myself because I wouldn't you can't just hold on to everything, work all your life, and
For sure.
never do anything for
Very,
yourself.
very, very good point, because one of the biggest reasons why hustlers aren't so focused on just money, because we know that it goes away.
away.
We know you can't take it with you. You know you can't put it in the hearse with you. Even if you did, you can't spend it there. You know what I'm saying? So we do know the value of money is always reinvesting it to make sure that it's always there 6 months later, 10 months later, a year later, 2 years later, when you think, oh, I forgot I got this. Oh, I forgot I got this. Those kind of things. How do you see you personally and then you business-wise impacting your direct community?
Stop. We're back
Same question?
She can answer that. Yeah, if
Start
she
from
heard
answering it or
if she
answer?
heard it,
I
you can answer.
I think I heard it. So personally affecting my community,
Correct. And business-wise.
I think they merge. For
No, no, hold on, to be clear. Let me just for a good answer. When I say affecting your community, the community of women, the community of color, the community of the age group that you're in, the community of how do you affect? Do you feel that you're in each one of these worlds? Do you focus on one world more than the other? Say that. Go ahead.
I'm more I want to affect the human race. I know
There we
that's
go.
such a
No, that's true. That's why I
you
asked that
know.
question. That's why I asked that
I don't
question.
look, I don't separate myself into different communities like that, even
Okay.
though I am, part of certain classes. But
Mhm.
I look at just what can I think the next project that we're working on will affect the human race as a whole.
What is it in your businesses that actually can do so? Because you have some strong businesses. What you know? Which
This
one?
next one in construction, I don't want to give it away too much, but it'll help everyone be able to afford home ownership. So that's just not a black thing. That's not a woman thing. Everyone deserves a home.
Every human,
Right.
absolutely. That's dope. That's dope. Where did you get that? Where did your passion come from for that? Was it just something you came up on? It was just instilled in you, or
I think, there is a story.
let's get it. Come on.
So my first house I purchased, my grandfather, you're excited and you're having your housewarming and all my family's there. The one person that, I wanted to, I'm not gonna say impress, but make happy
Make
was
happy.
my grandfather. He walked in and he wasn't impressed. It was a brand new house. It was a little over 2,000 square feet, 2-car garage. It was just me, and he just wasn't impressed. And it really, it was really hurtful. And one thing he said to me is, "Why you buy all this house?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I can afford this. It's my dream. So you don't need all this house." And fast forward 2 years after that, the economy crashed, and that's when we had the gas shortage. And I found myself coming home from work as a teacher, going into my room because at that point I was spending $500 a month on heating the house. So you want to turn the heat off so you can just go in your one little room and heat that room. And after that, I got it. So every house I've bought since then has been smaller and enough for me, and which I honestly believe has allowed me to grow as an entrepreneur because I don't have a lot of personal bills. I will say that. So what we are creating now will, and trying to educate individuals on is that same concept, have enough house, have enough for your family so that you can use that, the rest of your money
To
for
do other
things.
reinvesting. At that time, that message was just hard to receive.
It was. I actually cried.
Yeah.
I was like,
Was it based on that he said something in a nasty way, or was
no,
it
he didn't
based
say it
on
in that. He was definitely not that person. He was just disappointed. He was disappointed in something that
he felt that you were trying to do something that you?
But it comes. The wisdom was that I didn't have that wisdom that he had. So, he owns his own house, and I've seen him add on to it. Brick by brick. I actually helped as a child do that, and he knew you don't want to spend all your money. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket because things can happen.
Absolutely.
So, he was right. It
When
happened.
when did that lesson hit you full 360?
It happened when the gas shortage happened. And I was living paycheck to paycheck trying to heat my home at that point. And so I said, never again. I got it. Like I said, I only started buying houses that were enough for me,
Strong, very strong. What is? I was talking about it on my personal page the other day. Routines. Routines is what keeps a hustlepreneur almost sane, so to speak. And I say that let's just say your routine is coffee and the view, or your routine is working out, or your routine is a sausage biscuit every day. Without that sausage biscuit, without that watching that view, without that workout, whatever it is that you do every day, it's almost as if your day can't start.
Right.
Do you feel that way as far as in your lifestyle, or do you freestyle daily? Or
I freestyle sometimes, but systems run. I can't freestyle until I have my systems in place.
Well, that's the routine I'm talking about.
Right.
So there's a
So
in a hustlepreneur's mind, there's as soon as they wake up thing that has to be done in order to get correct.
I freestyle, but my business doesn't, if that makes sense. So I set up when it's time to start a business, you have to put the systems in place before you can start freestyling. This is my creativity.
Strong. That's strong because I want to also with that, I want to say you run 4 businesses. most would say, I'm only one person. I can't be everywhere at once.
With
Can we get a
systems, you can.
small little jewel of that system breakdown of how one person can manage 4 businesses, make sure employees are somewhere, make sure the business run? What is something, a jewel that we can get for
It's
that?
your processes. It's your, it's definitely the people that work for you too. But not to say anyone's replaceable, because I think that the right team helps you, elevate. But let's just say you had to replace someone, you can then pull out that system, and if they can read, hopefully they can fill in, and you're not having to train.
Absolutely.
Again.
Okay, we're gonna round the third base right now. We round the third base. All right, we're almost done. Where do you see yourself personally and business-wise in 5 years? I know we don't go 10 so far, but in 5, what do we think? And before you answer, mind you, this stuff is for the future. So this is always, we never know. One of the things I told Craig, we've been starting this is I bought a book one time. The author wrote the book in 1991. All I can think about in my mind, more than the fascination of the book, was, damn, somebody's still making money from 1991. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
I'm thinking about, when somebody stumbles across this 25 years from now, the internet, we watch videos from 25 years ago all the time. So when somebody watches this 20 years from now, or if you happen to stumble across this 5 years from now, to say, hey, hold yourself accountable, what do you think?
It's definitely, like I said, the next project that I'm working on. It's making sure that we create a system so that each or every human can have home ownership.
Have home ownership? And now, you say that to say, okay, we're going to leave it at that. What about, is that personal and business?
It is. It's something I would like to see. I honestly feel that personal mixes with my business, because business should be, in my opinion, about your community. So I don't start a business unless I'm helping. It's not about me.
And I noticed that all your business kind of tie in together.
Yes,
So,
right.
which is the hustler part about it. I tell Craig all the time, when you get in one scenario, it's so much left on that plate that you don't know. And that's what the hustler part of me always sees. Like, okay, I had a trucking business, but the first thing I had to do was get in the truck. I had to see it from the truck driver's
Yes,
point of view.
definitely.
I could no way jump in something because I got the money to say I'm gonna do this
Right.
and not even know how to daggone know the ins and outs, know the tire,
I'm the
know
same
what's
way.
like on the truck. So once you know that, then you're thinking about, oh, okay, now I can make money with somebody in the truck. I can make money routing a truck. I can make money leasing a truck.
Servicing the truck,
I can make money leasing a trailer. And so when people say, damn, why don't you focus on one thing? It's no, because I can see the
Right.
spectrum of where
Right.
everybody is getting a lot of money from. And if I'm just staying in one lane, that is cool, self-employed, as an entrepreneur. But that ain't hustling. Hustling is saying, hold on, there's a little bit of gravy left over here, there's a little potatoes
Right.
left over here. I'm gonna get all of this right here because if I don't get it, I'm gonna pay somebody else.
Exactly.
Somebody else gonna get this bread. And again, while we live in America, you don't like the word capitalist, I understand, but promise you, you're either gonna be the one eating or you're gonna be getting ate. You know what I'm saying? Like, and at some point you gotta figure out where you feel comfortable at on that menu. You know what I'm saying? So before we close out, we ask everybody the same thing. We ask for a gem or a jewel. If nothing else, if somebody found this 20 years, if they ain't learned nothing else from you, what is it that you live by, a code that you die by, something that you would give to any hustlepreneur if you only had one piece of advice to give to them?
Systems and processes. You have to know how to duplicate yourself. Everybody knows me. They know this is my favorite word. What's the system? What are we doing? So if
Just give us a little small break of elaboration on what you mean by system and processes.
again, if you die tomorrow, does your business keep running? Do you have it documented so
Wow,
that you can hand that book to someone else and they can run your business?
wow, that's strong. We've got a few strong gems. That was strong because I don't think anybody's ever took it there to say once you die, does the business keep going? Because for sure, if anybody in Walmart passed away, the business keep going. If anybody in McDonald's passed away, the business keep going. Super strong. I'm going to put that in my own think tank because that's super strong. I don't think I've ever thought about, does my business go? I mean, I thought about pushing it on to my daughter, to the next generation, but I was still thinking about being alive.
Right,
At that
exactly.
time in my mind, I was still thinking about
Right.
alive. And that's time, I never thought about what happens if, unexpectedly you actually pass away. That was very strong. We definitely appreciate you. We're glad that we broke that ice on you.
I know.
After midway through a drink, we got
Right.
you halfway there. It was another fantastic edition of the Hustlepreneur Network. We look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace.
Stay where y'all at. Give me an opener again, right quick.
What do you
So
mean?
this is,
Oh, okay.
give me an opener.
What's
Hold
go-
on, hold
Hard is it for the respect level, rubbing elbows with people when you say I'm an entrepreneur, when you say, because here's the thing, you can work with people you know and that's cool, but let's say you have to go get a contract with somebody that you don't know and it's a male and he's in a different kind of zone, or if it's a woman and it's a different kind of zone. How hard is it to fight the respect on both ways in the entrepreneur world?
I think the respect is there when you're prepared. I don't think I've had an issue with that now anyway. I will say in the beginning, you know, a lot of people, or a lot of entrepreneurs try to wing it based on their personalities and things like that. But as long as you're prepared with, you know, your systems and you know your stuff, then you're not gonna have to.
Well, and I say that to say, we live in America, right? And there's going to be some unfair things that happen in America. Have you faced challenges based on being a woman?
Oh, yeah.
Is the question I guess I should have asked. Have you
Now
faced
that I
challenges
have.
based on being, because when I said that to say, if you said I walked in here as a man, I know this wouldn't happen. What have you faced those type of challenges based on that? Because as an entrepreneur, you have to go outsource your own thing. You have to get your own contract. You have to get your own furniture. You have to get your own building. You have to negotiate your own contract.
So what I will say, the challenge that I feel like is that I used to face. Now I think now women in entrepreneurship is, I guess it's a little bit more common, but you know, 10, 15 years ago, men would treat you like objects.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trying to, you know, make a proposal, they wanted something in return.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I can honestly say is that's not how I roll. You know.
How
And
did you curb
I
that?
walk away. I've walked away every single time, and I've to each their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do what you want to do, but that's just not how I lay my head down at night. I'd say I'm better than anybody, but again, 15 years ago, when you're trying to, you know, truly do big business, and the men in those positions, they will try to take advantage of their, I guess, their place.
It's true. Every woman I know that's in a position of power, the way they got there was being that to have a transparent background, which means that you can go check me as thorough as you want, champ. You can do whatever. You can go ask all the people in the corner. You can ask every friend you want. The truth is gonna always.
It always comes
It's
back
gonna
out.
come on. It's gonna roar
That's
just like a lion. It's got aim. It's gonna defend itself.
Right.
You ain't got to defend the truth. It's gonna defend itself. So
Amen.
the power, it comes in respect for yourself.
For yourself.
And that also leads to power, because then what happens is nobody can't use that against you.
Exactly.
And what happens is, being a male, sometimes we look for women and say, oh, where's the male at? And sometimes the
That
power
happens
is right there. You know, and I'm one of the persons for sure
I get that question every
all the
time.
time. I'm one of the people for sure. My mom told me a long time ago, she was such a powerful woman that I never even thought about going over women. I just thought like, oh, this was the buck. You know what I'm saying? Like the buck. Now you got to still be a strong man, but ain't no sense of thinking that she wouldn't, or this person couldn't do what the next person absolutely could do. And I've always felt like that. I'm always give somebody the benefit of the doubt to doing the same exact job. No issues at all. So
I think that whenever a woman is in charge of something, I immediately think that it's better than everything. That's
I
how
agree.
my brain, I ain't lying. Like if I see a principle, I see like you construction, I'm like, I know it's ran perfect because I just know how they. You know what I mean?
How we
Like,
think.
you got to still do your due diligence.
Yeah, you
Because
do.
every woman is not the same way as every man isn't the same.
Right.
But I do overall, I agree with you.
Yeah,
Overall, I do agree with you on that part for sure. So
I was kind of getting in that space. That's
all right, cool.
All right.
Before as an ending, I want to say, all right, so we're wrapping it up. But before we go, we want to make sure that you give a chance to lay all your platforms, your Instagrams, your emails, or any way that somebody can find your business. If there's a business contact, the name of your business is one more time. Google, whatever it is that you want somebody to explore and find you. This is what we want to do.
I'm terrible with social media.
Facebook name, anything, IG name.
Young and Company. It's YCRE official at Instagram.
Let's go.
Young and Company at Facebook. Y3 Work Bar at Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Want the world to see it. Peace.